Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to ESL Open Cup 207 Americas, Papi Americas. A bit of a replay cast, just to be transparent, of course, is a replay cast from events that did occur a couple of days ago. We usually do cast this event live, but at the time we were covering something else. We were casting Masters Coliseum, the number 7, the Americas qualifiers. We were casting players like Future and Estrella and Special and Trigger, all duking it out amongst themselves to determine who from the Americas region did qualify for Masters Coliseum. So unfortunately, both these events did collide. They did overlap, so we casted one, we missed out on the other, so we're here to catch up. And here we go. We have reached the semifinals. Dark versus NightMare about to begin. Both players looking strong. We did follow NightMare taking down Sort of and Skilless earlier in a PvP and a PvZ respectively. We also covered Dark taking down Geralt as well, but now both these Korean players will collide, and I'm here for it. We are here for it. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkione, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss representing Matcherino Esports. It is NightMare. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon KZ Gaming. The KZ, it is Dark. Here we go. So we do settle into our openers, and this is going to be an interesting one. Both of these players, both NightMare and Dark, thrive in the mid game. I mean, I say that Dark is more than willing to elongate a game and get into the late game as well. Hydrolurker Viper into Broodlord Infestor. Dark is willing to embrace that, but more often than not, he does thrive in chaos, and chaos does ensue once we get up to 3-base economy. Likewise, so does NightMare. We'll see if NightMare can trip Dark up though, because even though NightMare is very much so fond of going for Glaive Adept openers, for a Twilight Council, or even Glaive Adept follow-ups after a 3rd base, he used it very effectively against Sort of. Against a player like Dark, it's a bit harder to pull that off. Not impossible. It was a couple of weeks ago where we saw a hero have his way with Dark and just like glaive it up the hell out of him, like 3 games in a row. It was it was wild what a hero was able to accomplish with those glaive adepts. But again, that's kind of a once. I mean, you need the control and the prowess of a hero to pull that off. Can NightMare do the same? We're here to find out. We are here to find out. As for the time being, everything is looking normal. NightMare just being as annoying as possible. Dark did get his natural base up and running. Did end up getting his hatch gas pool underway, and NightMare does confirm that. Also very important that this was scouted, just because I mentioned before, Dark has embraced going for a hatch first here at the gold location as his natural. He's used it many times in this matchup, so NightMare has to take note of that. Likewise, proxy hatches are not unheard of from Dark either. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it at one point in this series as well. Going for a proxy hatch just to disrupt the opener, just to really disrupt the economy of the Protoss. So we'll see if NightMare can keep up. For now, the probe just trying to get a read on the 3rd base and delay the 3rd if possible, but the probe is going to be shut down by these lings. We have our tech of choice. It's going to be a Stargate opener here out of NightMare, looking like an Oracle first. No Void Ray for shenanigans. Classic has been very fond of it. NightMare a little bit less so. He has sprinkled in kind of Void Ray openers in his build, so don't get me wrong, but it's not something that he's really in love with like Classic is. As the Links of Dark are going to be chilling back at home. Again, 3rd base being taken. Droning on up, pulling out of gas, everything looking by the book here from Dark. NightMare going for that Oracle first, as we mentioned. This should be an Oracle opener into a 3rd Nexus, into some form of tech. I'm assuming Twilight Council Forge, but we'll see. We'll see where or what kind of direction NightMare takes us in. I feel like initially my eyes are going to be on our Protoss. So now the first Oracle is going to be moving out. Again, just trying to get a read on what Dark is up to, making sure that we have saturation at the natural, and picking up any drones that we can, keeping an eye on the 3rd base as well. Likewise, Dark also going to be maneuvering around with his Lings, making sure that the third, if it is taken, we have eyes on it. Oracle dives into the natural. We have 2 queens in position. We dive in anyway. Take a bit of hold damage. We do get 2 drone kills. In the main, we also have 2 queens in position as well. Spore now on the way. We get some larva. Add something. Even force out a Spore. Oh! Do get another drone. 3 workers. Not too bad. And even 2 larva as well. Pretty good start here, considering it was only 1 Oracle. And oh my god, this is not what I was expecting. We have a very delayed third. I was very curious. I was very concerned as to when the third was going to be taken. And now we see what is happening behind this. We have a second Stargate and a Forge. Okay. And a Robo? Wait, what? So we're not rushing into Skytoss. Otherwise, we would already have a Fleet Beacon. So, no Fleet Beacon. I'm assuming Phoenix? Mass Phoenix, question mark? I guess we could go Mass Void Ray, but that's a little bit out of the norm at the moment, as we do have the Oracles harassing. 1 Oracle goes down. Big overextension from NightMare. Oracle is going to be forced back. Does take quite a bit of hold damage here. So far, not worth it. Initially, killing 3 drones was good, but after losing an Oracle, suddenly not worth it. And we are going Void Ray. Okay. Mass Void. Okay, NightMare. Show me what you got. Now, the other interesting thing here is the Adepts are getting surrounded. Lings, they do get a full surround. They do catch them. We do barely commit to the shade. We do get the hell out of there. Third base is under fire. Oracle racing back home. So the interesting thing about this is that we have +1 attack. Because of +1 attack, it looks like we should be going for a ground-based army afterwards, and there we go. Twilight Council's on the way. We should be commencing Immortals. The Bay is on the way as well for Disruptors. So NightMare is switching into ground toss. Did he really only make the second Stargate for 2 Voids? I mean, the second Void Ray is revealed. We are trickling in a couple of extra Void Rays, but again, this is not the main... there we go. We have a 4th Void Ray on the way, but again, this is not the main bulk of the army. There's that Gateway Explosion. It is going to be ground toss. So NightMare essentially is trying to force an overreaction. He's trying to force an overcommitment from Dark into anti-air. Dark going for a Hydra Den, making use of +1 range. So he's going to be going Roach Hydra initially into Hydra Lurker Viper, I'm sure, which is going to be ideal against a ground toss army. Behind this, Templar Archives on the way. We have the Bay, but we're not doing anything with it. I'm like, this is so disjointed from NightMare. It's a bit of everything, a little bit of everything. What I mean by that is, like, look, if we're going into a Bay into Disruptor production, usually you commit and you go for like a second Robo for double Disruptor production, but instead we're like pivoting away from it. So we're getting into Archons and Charge Lots, which do well. And now we're going into Phoenixes, like just a little bit of everything, you know? I'm concerned that it's a little bit too scatterbrained and not too cohesive as an actual like army composition that works well together. But you know, we'll see. It almost feels like NightMare is freestyling a little bit, and I don't know if he can. And here we go. Ling Roche does rock up. We're looking to deny this Nexus here towards the south. Do force to cancel. Void Rays will force this back. Behind this, Hydra production well underway. We do have the infestation bit as well to get into Hive Tech. We're going back into Void Rays. Did we make the Phoenixes? We canceled. Okay, we canceled the Phoenixes, going back into Voids. So we have a handful of Void Rays, a couple of Disruptors. I'm concerned because Ling Hydra is good against all of this. Like, if NightMare was going Colossus, I would think he would be in a better position, but against Disruptor, with Disruptor, I'm a little bit more concerned. Now we have the Fleet Beacon on the way. It looks like we are getting into Skytoss. Storm is finishing up. We have +2 on the way as well. Again, this is a really messy way to get into Skytoss. It's very delayed, just because we've been taking all these twists and turns. It means that Carrier or Tempest production is going to be very much so delayed. Hydra's knocking down these rocks. Ling Roach getting eyes on the 4th base for a second time. NightMare's going to rotate over to defend. That's a lot of Void Rays. He's going to be spotted by the army at the same time. Hydras, they come in from the left-hand side. They go straight for the Disruptor. No shield battery. Disruptor does go down. More Nova's going to be going off. Good splits. 4 Hydras do get picked up. But we do get eyes on the supporting army. Going to be depowering some of these gateways. At the same time, the Roach Hydra army getting shut down on the right-hand side. The Zealots, they're trading well. They are trading well here. Again, what do we need against these Zealots? Lunkers, but. And there it is, Lurker Den now on the way. So, Dark, he wasn't aware of the ground toss, which is why there was no Lurker Den. Now it's on the way. It is late, but at least it is in production before NightMare was committing to a push. Lurkers are the thing that Dark is missing. From here, the goal base is being taken. Dark pushing on the left-hand side. Is spotted, but these Voiders out of position. We have Storm! We do have Storm available. First one does connect with some of those Hydras. Never going to be going off. Decent connection. Up! Getting 2 more Hydras here towards the end. A good splits, though. The last Nova doesn't connect. Does not connect. Void Rays still don't rotate over. NightMare, he has faith. He does hold. Does hold with his ground army. Lurker Den just finished. There we go. Lurker range on the way. Carrier production has commenced. We have Blink in production as well. I mean, NightMare did establish his 4th. And he's getting the gold. Like, he's getting there. He's working towards a maxed out Skytos army. Meanwhile, the Hydras are getting stuck. NightMare from behind. Oh. Almost catches those Hydras. Does graze the army with that Nova. Does force it back. Carriers are on the way. Now, I still want to favor Dark. Like, Dark, he's got 80 workers. He's got the goal base. He's on 5, soon to be 6 bases. And Hydra Lurker Viper is going to trade a lot better here, especially with these Vipers coming in for those abductions. We need some feedbacks. We do catch a Disruptor already. Big Storm. But it feels like, again, based on the openers, like Dark's armor composition is a lot more... He got here in a lot more of a fluid fashion. Big Storm, though, does connect. Feels like we've stumbled here for NightMare, is what I'm trying to say. This feels a lot more natural out of Dark, as there we go. The 9 Lurkers are in production. That's really been the thing that has been missing. The backbone to his army. Zealot Runback comes in. We get a couple of drones. We have Zealot here on the left-hand side as well. At the same time, a big Link counterattack. The wall has been broken! And the Links, they are flooding in. The wall, no longer a wall. Zealots are doing what they can, but the Links, they get into the main. Looks like we have plenty of stack defense. We should be able to hold on without losing too much. Things are cleaned up. So the Zealots, how many carriers do we have? We have 2, soon to be 4 carriers. That's okay. I mean, 6 carriers is kind of critical mass. It's kind of what we want to aim towards. These Zealot Rabbis have been keeping Dark back at home. Even trading with Hydras. Here we go. NightMare is pushing. Looking at the army, we still have only 9 of those Lurkers. Still only 2 Vipers. That may be enough. As long as they don't get feedbacked. Never go up. Speaking of, big feedbacks on the Vipers. Storms as well on the Hydras, on the Queens. But there may just be too much on the ground as Dark, he is breaking through. The Storms, we have run out of Storms. We're getting on top of the ground army. The Carriers, one of them gets picked off. So does the second. A big loss there for NightMare. An expensive loss. At the same time, did go for a Zealot counterattack, and he is getting damage done. A lot of lost mine time. But only 2 dead workers. And now Dark can focus on his next push. He's already maxed out. NightMare is still trying to recover here from that loss. From that fight. His economy is good, don't get me wrong. His economy is good, but his upgrades are lacking. He's got +3 for his ground army. problem is, just because of how we got here, +1 for the Sky Toss is just so delayed. It is so late. Bunkers are coming in. Good splits. They do get in position. Vipers have arrived. Big power bomb here on the Void Rays. Oh, do get some feedbacks going, but that power bomb did so much damage. Softened up the Void Rays. We're getting within range of the mineral line. Probes are going down. At the same time, we do have a Zealot counterattack. We do have some units in position to defend. Where the storms? Both High Templar go down. That runway is getting into the mineral line. 10 drones go down, but we also deny mining here at the gold. And this is that much more important for NightMare. Delta being cleaned up. Nexus goes down. NightMare back up to 4 carriers. Again, that's an okay count, but not enough. Honestly, Dark doesn't even need Corruptors. Like, Hydra Lurker Viper is enough here to sustain himself. Some Lurkers do get caught. We're down to 7 Lurkers, but we have 8 more on the way. The Vipers were feedbacked earlier, but they survived and they're gathering up energy. Just pushing on the left-hand side. They take down the Cyber Core. Catch some transferring workers. Observer's just dragging the army out of position. At the same time, another Hydra army on the right-hand side. NightMare does have a recall if he needs it. I mean, he's got shield battery. He's got an overcharge. He will hold. Dark bleeding out a little bit too much. And these Zealot runways are so annoying. They're actually doing quite a bit here. Take down the Spine Crawlers. Carriers, they push right through the center. Dark forced to turn back around. Drones are falling. But it looks like Dark has had enough. The Zealot counterattack is still wreaking havoc here towards the left-hand side, but he's just pushing right through the middle. He catches the carriers. Gets 1, 2, 3, 4 carriers going to be going down. Big pickups. Dark, he may have lost drones, but he doesn't care. Not anymore. And where are the storms? There are none. All the High Templar were morphed into Archons. We have some fresh High Templar, which need time. 18 drones did go down. That is not insignificant. It's a pretty large amount. But Dark, he reset the carrier counts, and that matters that much more. As the Mass Hydra has arrived. Given time, these High Templar will each have a storm, which will be huge. Isn't there yet? Lurkers are getting caught out as they try to harass. But the Mass Hydra becoming too much. The storms are ready. That's a lot of storms. We still have 2 left. We still have 1 left. That's the final storm, and we clean up the Hydras at the same time, though. We're also breaking through with our reinforcements. It took everything that NightMare had. He did kill 28 drones, by the way. Big Nova. So this is getting a little bit scrappy. Dark doesn't have the best economy behind this, but neither does NightMare. And the Lunkers, they're breaking through. And the reinforcers, they barely break the right-hand side as well. Bases are falling left and right. We're pushing into Lurkers. We should clean this up. We do have detection. Yeah, every single Lurker is going to be going down. At the same time, the 5th has fallen. This was an expensive loss for Dark. We'll say that. Did lose, what? Most of his Lurkers. All of his Lurkers. Only 1 Viper survives. But NightMare is down to a 4 base economy. And Dark, he's still okay. He's still got 68, almost 69 drones. Nice. He's getting there. Rebuilding or building up his Roach Hydra army. He's been trading well enough. Not the Zealot run by. Again, the thing that's been keeping NightMare in this game have been the Zealot counterattacks. Like, they've been doing so much for him. They've been making this closer than it otherwise could have been. Storm's being thrown down. Do we have enough anti-air? There's only 1 carrier. Only one carrier. Don't really need that many Hydras. Roach just pushing through. Another Zealot counter attack. We have Lings to reinforce. We have Lings coming in to deal with those Zealots. The Hydrogen does go down. Big pickoff. Very nice pickoff there from NightMare. The transferring probes. As what you see is what you get, and oh, never mind. We do have a backup Hydrogen, so it didn't even matter. Dark, he was ready for it. Ready to lose that Hydrogen. And now here we go, Dark pushing in with what looks to be the final push of the game. That was we have one storm left. That was the final storm for NightMare, morphing in as many of these Archons as he can. We have the Yoink. The final carrier falls, and Dark is gonna break through. GG gets called. Dark takes game number 1. GG. This was a wild game, by the way. Oh my god, NightMare's playstyle. I say his playstyle. His build was crazy. Winding it back, it was a second Stargate before third into double Void Ray production. But remember, it was a second Stargate with a Forge, alongside a Forge for Fast +1, into a Robo. Like, it was it was so disjointed. It was crazy. It's not something that I've seen before, I'll be honest. I've seen variations, but nothing quite like what NightMare did. I don't even know if NightMare knew what he was doing. This is one of those games where I would love to, like, it's always hard because, obviously NightMare lost the game, but I would love to probe NightMare's mind about the hell just happened. Because this was, yeah, it was something. Into the Bay, into single Robo Disruptor production, into Charge Lot, Blink Stalker, like, it was, GG. Dark does take game number 1. Catching up in the chat. Is Dark just not dead? I don't think there was a moment where Dark was losing that game. I think he was, as I mentioned before, like the problem with what NightMare was doing, not just that like the build was quirky, just because of his build order. Yeah, again, it was just a really awkward road to Skytoss is the problem. Usually if we're rushing into Skytoss, like, we get really fast air upgrades for your carriers, which makes them that much more potent, just because we get really fast +1 air attack into fast +2, eventually +3 air attack. But because we were investing into all this other tech in the lead up, and it was kind of, it was throwing Dark off. Dark, he wasn't really aware of what was happening. If you remember, that's why Dark had really late lurker den, if you remember. That was the case. But even so, like, going into Ling Hydra, or sorry, Roach Hydra at the time was good enough, and it was smoothly or just leading and transitioning into Hydra Lurker Viper, which is exactly what Dark needed anyway. So yeah, it was weird. It's a weird one. As we're getting into game 2. Getting into game number 2. But you know, maybe you have to do something weird if you want to try to take down and catch a player like Dark off guard. It's possible. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Matcherino Esports. Looking to fight back, looking to have the series 1-1. It is NightMare. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player. The red Zerg representing DragonKy Gaming, DKZ, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. Here we go. See in the chat, I would like to see Aspire. Kind of. I mean, I was more than happy not to see Aspire, just because, again, it wasn't a big dedication to Skytoss. We never exceeded 5 carriers, so going into Corruptors wasn't really necessary, because NightMare had so much on the ground. Lurkers were what he needed at that point. It was fine. All the lunkers, Poppy, all the lunkers. There were some rough fights for Dark where he maybe overextended with some of his lurkers, but if you remember, even in the times where he was losing a good chunk of lurkers, he was also counterattacking and taking down bases and sniping Nexi. Like, these are trades that Dark was still coming out ahead with. It was just a really odd one. I'm shaking my head. There's like a lot of rules. Like when you cast enough StarCraft, there are like these unwritten rules about certain playstyles and about the game that you have like in your mind, and it feels like some of those rules were being broken in that last game. That's why I'm having a hard time like sinking it in. Let's go. As we're getting into game number 2, and I'm expecting something a little bit more sane here from NightMare. I'm expecting it. So now we are going for a gate expand into the Cybercore. Behind this, based on the pylon placement, should be a Stargate opener as well. We did mention before that if it is a Stargate opener, that Oracle-based openers are a lot more commonplace here from NightMare, but we'll see. After game 1, I can't make any assumptions about NightMare anymore. I can't be like, you know, he thrives in the mid game and he's all about like glaive at eps or like mid game pushes, but after what we just saw, like I can't say that anymore. I don't know, Papi. I don't know. What happened? Ay. But now Hatchlick's pull out of Dark, standard opener from our Zerg player at least. Gonna be joining up. Again, this should all be leading into a third base. It should, Pat. It should. And, it is going to be a Void Ray first. Okay, bold move here out of NightMare. Bold move. The reason why I say this, usually if we go for a Void Ray opener, we actually have the Stargate a little bit further back. The reason why you would throw it down forward is so you have less travel distance between your Oracle and the mineral line of your opponent. So, yeah, really interesting kind of choice out of NightMare going for the Void Ray. With this, he could either decide to ignore this Overlord and get across the map and try to snipe some of these other scouting Overlords first, and then double back and kill this one. Or if he's more concerned about hiding his tech, he can focus down the initial Overlord, and there we go. The first Overlord will go down, which tells us that, again, it is likely that NightMare wants to try to take it a different direction. Should still be throwing down the third base, but this could be into a fast fleet beacon, it could be into Twilight Council, glaive at eps. Could lead into a couple of different directions, or a couple of different ways. Meanwhile, Dark going for a very early Roach Warren. That was what, like a 3-minute 30 Roach Warren? That is wild. Despite knowing it's a Stargate opener, it looks like Dark intends to go for a bit of a Queen Walk across the map. Again, you don't get a Roach Warren this early on without good reason. And there it is, second Stargate. And the Robo again. Wait, what? Very similar to the last game. So it's going to be double Stargate into a fast Robo. No fast Forge this time, but the game may end before it really begins for now. Yeah, same build. It's the same build as last game. No shot. Meanwhile, we're walking. Dark is going for an all-in. We pointed out the fast Roach one earlier. Dark is going to be sending it all across the map, and NightMare has very little to defend. Because of his build order right now, he is teching hard with Forge, Stargate, Robo. He only has 2 gateways. He can only warp in 2 units at a time, and he's not prepared for this whatsoever. Like, this is a hard punish from Dark. Again, there's no Immortal production, there's no Blink, there's no charge. We're throwing down a wave of shield batteries here, and we'll see if NightMare can pull off a miracle defense. As Dark has arrived, cutting workers at 38. Queens are waddling in, which means he has anti-air to deal with those Void Rays. Shield battery already under fire. And that is an Artosis pylon. It's going to be focused down. The pylon falls. These shield batteries, they will do nothing. They're all depowered. This Nexus will fall. Behind this, we're droning. Lair is on the way. Honestly, I think Dark could commit. I think Dark could maybe break the natural, but he's making sure he's ready for the next step, as he has already killed the third. Gateway is going to be going down. Once again, a fast robotics bay, and no shot. NightMare is going to start doing this more often. Shield battery is going to be going down. So does the Cyber Core. We start up the first of these disruptors. But Dark is breaking through. Getting us up with the shield battery, one of the cannons. We have one cannon remaining. It's going to be bowed down as well. It does fall. And there are 2 units left on the ground. 1 Adept and 1 Stalker. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe there aren't any gateways. 0 gateways in the main base. There is 0 production. Nothing is here. GG gets called. Dark was droning. He was working on the next step. Didn't even need it. And Dark will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. That was the same build 2 games in a row from NightMare, which means game 1 wasn't a fluke. Game 1 wasn't NightMare freestyling. No, there was intention behind it, which is crazy to me. Again, we cast StarCraft on a daily basis here. We've casted NightMare plenty of times. This is new to me. This is a new build out of NightMare that he's been trying out. I haven't seen him do it before. I'm curious if he's going to do it again. I'm curious if in the coming weeks, in future ESL Open Cup Americas, Asia, KSLs, I'm gonna be keeping my eye on NightMare, and we'll see if he sticks to it. Again, very peculiar build, and he wouldn't be doing it if it doesn't work. So I'm sure. Basically, I'm excited to cast him against like Solar or DRG or Shin, some of these other Korean Zerg players. I'm curious if NightMare whips it out against them as well, because I didn't see it working, but clearly there's potential there. So. We'll see. Regardless, GG, well played. Congratulations to Dark. We're taking the series 2-0. Advances on to the grand finals. GG. See, chat, NightMare, he's cooking. I mean, that's the way to put it. You're not wrong. He is cooking. Does it taste good, though? That's the question, you know? Is what he's cooking edible? That's what I'm curious about. Because, again, there's intentionality there, and it's a shame that he's also doing this against Dark, especially on Oceanborn, as we saw Oceanborn very much so is a map that we see Queen Walks very often on. So Dark just completely punished and hard countered the build essentially by going for an all-in. You're very exposed when you're taking up that heavily. I can see potential on Alcyone, which is what we saw in game 1. I can see potential on Radisset Station. Maybe Side Delta, maybe. I'm curious. I'm very curious. It's gonna keep me up at night. It's gonna keep me up. Definitely interested in watching more of NightMare's PvZ. But regardless, congratulations to Dark. He does advance on. NightMare is going to be eliminated from this tournament, but has shown us something a little bit different for the first time, at least for me. It's possible that NightMare maybe has done this in some of the most recent. I know Wardy's been running. I know Wardy, he ran like a Christmas tournament, right? I don't know if NightMare was a part of that, or if he was a part of some of the most recent big brain balls, or like the ballistic missile. What's it? the event that Roddy casts. It's possible that maybe he's done it there. It's possible. Those are events that we don't cover here on the CranKy Ducklings. So curious. Regardless, we are getting into our next series, and up next we have the lower semifinals. It is going to be Hero versus Max Packs in the PvZ to determine who faces off against Dark in the grand finals. Let's go.